Hi there, everybody. Karen Roby here with Chris Matizjik for ZDNet. We're talking today about a couple of different things that have to do with Facebook. I know, Chris, you've got a couple of articles up right now on ZDNet that are really interesting about some things that have been said about Facebook, or Facebook is saying some things that they're doing within the company. We'll get to all that. Just start first with Facebook and Apple.
Facebook and Apple don't really like each other much anymore. I'm not sure how much they ever did, but they really don't like each other, especially as over the last year, Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, has been constantly trying to remind people just how evil, in his view, Facebook is because of the way it essentially has never had any respect for privacy. And he really wants to underline what he believes that is Apple's prime difference against Facebook, which is that he's got sufficient humanity left inside him somewhere to worry about the fact that we have no privacy at all. He believes it's a moral issue. And so by extension, he thinks Facebook is an immoral company. And of course, Facebook, has been taking this criticism and suddenly has come out attacking Apple without mentioning Apple by name, saying that the difference between Apple and Facebook is that Apple is an elitist company, whereas Facebook is for everyone. It is the populist people's defender where anyone, anywhere in the world can be involved. Of course, it's a slightly tendentious argument insofar as, yes, Apple products are not cheap, but there are 1 billion active devices right now. If you had 1 billion elitists in the world, can you imagine that the Facebook executive who made this criticism is a former English politician, and some would say a failed former English politician called Nick Clegg. And he himself, oddly enough, could be regarded as something of an elitist because he went to Cambridge, although he went to, I believe, Robinson College, which is kind of not the sexiest college at Cambridge. We've got to just accept that. But talks very posh, and he was in coalition for a while, his Liberal Democrats, with David Cameron's Conservative Party, which sort of started off the Brexit referendum, and that's going really well, I hear, so far. So no, the flaw, of course, in all this is you can't really compare Facebook and Apple anyway. What you can compare is their attitudes towards privacy. And in terms of Facebook, they've suddenly, miraculously, overnight, embraced privacy, despite the fact that 10 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg said he knew people better than they did, and people just don't want privacy at all. But now they do. What he really means is, of course, that Facebook wants privacy because it wants to encrypt everything on WhatsApp, Instagram, and on Facebook so that it makes it much harder to split the company apart.
And do you think, Chris, when you talk about these two giant companies, and you throw Google in there as well, and what this one's saying about this one, do you think in some way that's good because it kind of maybe makes us more aware of things going on? I mean, I know we hear about Facebook in the news so often, with the privacy issue and what's to come with all of this. But do you think sometimes that kind of banter is better for all of us as far as customers are concerned?
Well, that's an optimistic view. I'm not quite as optimistic as you about humanity. I think we're in our sort of death throes right now. The fact is that we've allowed all this to happen. We have sacrificed our privacy very cheerily without even thinking about it because we're desperate to post a picture on Facebook to send to our grandmother. And so it's not like we can abdicate our responsibility. At the same time, you would kind of hope that there comes a point where people say to themselves, you know what, some of these companies really do have such a cynical attitude towards humanity in general, society in general, and frankly, you could argue now with Facebook's announcement of a cryptocurrency, governments in general, that they believe that they are transnational organizations that are basically above laws, even if one day Facebook is subject to some kind of regulation, which it claims it wants. You can be sure its lobbyists will make sure that regulation doesn't really affect Facebook's business very much.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I do try to stay somewhat on the more positive, cheery side of things.
You do it very well. I mean, you do.
Well, thank you. I try, but in keeping the focus on Facebook, another one of the articles here that, we've been talking about that you did some writing and research on is what Facebook is now trying to do when it comes to the ad agencies. Talk about that for us.
Well, Facebook clearly believes it has something of an image problem. And, what a remarkable act of self-awareness, or should I say sudden self-awareness, this is. So it suddenly transpired over just a couple of weeks ago that Facebook, a company that once upon a time thought ad agencies were frankly the cretins of the world, suddenly appointed 5 of them, not just one, but 5 of them, to try and polish its image, or at least to resuscitate it from the basement, in order to, make people feel better about not just the Facebook brand itself, but the WhatsApp brand, the Instagram brand. And, they're really desperate to, as they say these days in PR and advertising, change the conversation so that people will start talking positively about Facebook, because in this interim period where Facebook has been accused of affecting elections and not in an entirely positive way, it suddenly wants to make sure that people begin to feel better about it before it launches its cryptocurrency, and then we won't be able to follow anything Facebook does ever again.
Well, yeah, there you go with the other side of it. That's right, Chris. There are 2 sides, and the cryptocurrency, that's going to be interesting to see as well how that is received. But the conversation does need to be changed, and maybe the ad agencies will be able to do that for them. I don't know. We'll just have to see how that goes.
Well, being someone who used to be a creative director in an ad agency, I can tell you that there's a great irony in ad agencies suddenly taking money from Facebook, given that over the last few years, ad agencies have lost a lot of money to Facebook. So maybe they're sort of sitting there cynically, just as cynical as I think Facebook is, and saying, well, at least we can make some money out of this, and you never know.
There you go. All right, Chris, always interesting conversation with you. We certainly appreciate your articles here for us on ZDNet. And if you want to read more, as I mentioned, ZDNet, that's where you need to go. Thanks for watching.